Hey everybody, it's Roxio. I am back with a Survival Hunter Guide for patch 4.3.4, which is in Cataclysm, the last patch before anything else. In this guide, I'm going to assume you already know the basics of hunters, how to get pets. You can look a lot of things up. I'm also going to assume you know basically how to play. I'm going to be going over more advanced tactics such as rotation, gearing, glyphs, special pets, things like that. So without further ado, let's get this started. The first thing we need to talk about is your secondary stat. Your primary stat is agility, but this is the secondary stat priority. It goes hit rating, critical strike rating, haste rating, and mastery rating. You only want hit until 8%, not over, not under, at 8. So you need to reforge in and out of hit rating to get as close to 8% as possible. Usually, you want to reforge your mastery rating around, but if you absolutely need to, reforge around your haste rating. I also need to talk about gemming. Gemming is very, very simple, actually. Your red sockets, you need delicate inferno rubies, no exceptions. I'll kill you if you choose anything differently. Yellow, you need deadly ember topaz, 20 agility, 20 crit. In your blue, you need to have delicate inferno rubies, but there's an agility socket bonus. You need to go for the glinting demon's eye. Very important, very good. You also need to make sure you are getting the right types of trinkets. You need to have trinkets that give you baseline agility, things like arrow of time. You also never want to wear leather gear, even if it gives you an agility bonus, because you lose 5% total agility if you break the set. That is stupid. You also need to make sure you have every single one of these enchants on your gear, as long as you have, decent gear. Enchants are definitely worth the expense. I can't express that enough. You need to have enchants on your gear. There is no way around it. Get enchants, get gems, get all that stuff done. Now I'm going to talk about talents. This is a basic talent specialization. Pause here, go full screen if you don't want to check out the armory links, like it says on the screen. This is the highest DPS spec that you can possibly get for single target. You need to follow this. You get lock and load. It plays a huge role in keeping your DPS high. It's basically free explosive shots, but I'll go into that a little bit later. You also need to make sure you get the right types of glyphs, which I'm going to show right here. The 3 prime glyphs you need are explosive shot, kill shot, and you also need to have the serpent sting glyph. They all increase your DPS tenfold. There are no other glyphs that you want to get. You can look it up. You can research it. These are the glyphs that you definitely need to have. You also want to get glyph of trap launcher. It helps a lot. The extra 10 focus actually makes a huge difference, almost no matter what you're doing. There's reasons behind all of this. It's mainly to do the min-maxing of everything else. Okay, now we need to go into the actual bit of the rotation. In the rotation, you need to make sure you're doing a couple things before you actually pull. You need to make sure aspect of the hawk's on. You need to make sure your pet's active. You need to make sure hunter mark's on the target. You need to make sure you have your cooldowns up. You need to make sure you don't need to do any kind of crowd control. Pretty simple. If you ever play a hunter, it's pretty simple. Then you misdirect the tank. You wait for them to pull. Then you pew pew. But how do you pew pew? Well, this is your priority queue. You need to apply Serpent Sting, keep Serpent Sting up. You need to use Explosive Shot every time it is off cooldown. You need to use Kill Shot if it is available. You need to apply Black Arrow when it's off cooldown. You need to use Cobra Shot to regen focus and add time to Serpent Sting. You need to use Arcane Shot if you have excess focus. There are a couple of exceptions to this, but the main thing is you need to follow this list from top to bottom. It's basically about keeping up dots, using as many abilities as you possibly can with your certain amount of focus, and you need to make sure you're using your cooldowns whenever they're up. That's pretty much how every DPS class goes. I can't express enough how much you need to be using Explosive Shot. You need to be using it every single time it's up, and you also need to pull 44 focus beforehand to make sure you have enough focus to actually cast it. However, this changes when you get a lock and load proc. It basically gives you 2 free explosive shots. An explosive shot is basically a bunch of ticks. So the 2 shots need to be spaced out, and the second explosive shot should not overlap the first one. Usually I go 1, 2, I count out 2 in my head, and then fire off the next shot. Then I throw an arcane shot or a cobra shot depending on the focus levels. If my focus is high, I use if I have heroes and rapid shot on, I use arcane shot. If I have low focus, I use cobra shot to make sure I have enough focus for the 3rd explosive shot after lock and load, because it doesn't consume the cooldown. Doing high DPS isn't really about being so skilled. It's about getting as many explosive shots in your rotation as possible. That comes from practice, things like that. You need to get used to the procs coming up at weird times, and if you can manage to do all of this, you are going to top charts. I'm not kidding. Even in my crappy gear, I top charts 90% of the time. There's really no reason not to top charts. And I'm going to give you a little bit of time to kind of watch how I do my rotation of the ball left hand corner of the screen. There will be another clip at the end that shows a little more in depth. It's about relaxing, calming down, and just performing. This may seem like a lot of information to take in, but trust me, you just need to practice your priority queue. Sorry, I keep saying rotation for some reason. I'm used to the old WoW anyway. Then we also need to get into another quick point about the AoE rotation. Survival Hunters are the strongest AoE class in the game. If not, I believe they are the strongest personally. It's attributed to the damage of Explosive Trap, with Improved Trap, with Multi-Shot, with Serpent Spread, which has Serpent Sting to all the targets Multi-Shot hits. You do so much damage. So basically all you really have to do is launch Explosive Trap into a pack, fire Multi-Shot as much as possible. Then just use 1 or 2 Cobra Shots to bring your focus back up to 40. It really is that easy. You usually want to do this for if you have 3 or more targets that you're targeting. Alright, now we need to get into pets. Pets are a little bit complicated, but they're not too bad. I'll try and explain them the best I can. Basically, every hunter needs a pet. You always want to have a pet out unless there's a specific reason you don't, which should never happen. But choosing the right pet is kind of hard to do, and it requires a little bit of brain power. My wolf, Valdez, the special oil wolf, gives a 5% critical strike bonus. But this bonus is shared with Rampage, Leader of the Pack, and Honor Among Thieves. They don't stack, so it'd be a waste for me to keep Valdez out, so I'll call out Miata, my cat. Gives a 549 crit, either agility and strength bonus with the same as Horn of Winter, Strength of Earth, and Battle Shout. Again, they don't stack, so you don't have the extra 1,000 agility, you'd only have the extra 550 agility. And my pet, Thundershaft, the Wind Serpent, basically adds a debuff to the target, which gives an 8% magic damage bonus to everybody in the group. It stacks with, like Boomkin, Ebon Plague, and Curse of Elements. It doesn't stack either. So ideally, you want to have the cat out most of the time, the wolf next, and then you want to have a third pet just kind of as a utility pet. That you can use for almost any other type of situation, especially in 25-man raids. That's why I suggest a Fox or a Ravager. Just make sure you have 3 pets with unique abilities in your Call Pet button. That's really all you got to know about pets. Now, about the actual talent specs and things like that, there's Ferocity and Cunning. I'm going to talk about Ferocity. You might want to pause here and see this talent tree, because it's the highest DPS tree you can possibly get. You go for Wild Hunt instead of Shark Attack with a couple of points and go for the throat, because otherwise he gets focus cap and he ends up using all of his focus. You also want to buy and call the Wild to a macro, basically so you can just hit a button to use it. I'll put the macro in the description. It's pretty easy. Okay, and Thundershaft here is a Cunning pet. These pets are made for utility. They're almost as good as Ferocity pets when they come in damage output. But the thing about them is they don't have Call the Wild. You can pause here to check out the talent spec. He uses a pretty standard build, but he's DPS oriented instead of survival or PvP oriented. It's just use this spec to get the most out of the damage. Also, don't be forgetting that you have Aspect of the Fox. You need to be able to use Aspect of the Fox to run around and get more focus back, all that great stuff. You can generally swap into it and just swap right back to Hawk after you're done moving. And it really does. It's a DPS increase because you can keep going through all this stuff. So let's do a quick review. Make sure you optimize your DPS on your hunter. This means gemming, enchants food, correct spec, right pets, and the correct glyphs. That's pretty standard. Make sure you do all that stuff. Also, make sure you are as close to 8% hit as possible, because you do not want to miss your explosive shots. That sucks. You also need to, like I said, practice. Doing consistently high DPS takes time and skill. You develop skill through patience and repetition. You really don't expect to be pulling huge numbers in your first week. You need to get used to your Q first. The main thing is you need to be watching your focus. You have to plan at least 2 shots ahead of time a lot of the time. The best thing that you can do for yourself is to just play. Get used to moving around and performing your priority queue to the best of your ability. Honestly, it took me about a week and a half to really truly get used to the hunter queue. It takes a little bit of time. It's not something you can easily do. Survival hunters are very easy to play. Hunters are an easy class to play. But that doesn't mean you don't take time to learn them. The main thing is you need to make sure your gear is optimized so you're not being capped by your gear. You should be getting skill capped, not gear capped. I tell everybody that I've ever played with, and some people listen and they usually get better, and some people don't listen and they get worse. Anyway, any questions? Leave comments in the description, leave me comments and stuff below. Thanks for watching, everybody. I love you all. Comment, rate, subscribe. I will talk to you guys later.